Apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is filled with God and is a book about God. Amen. Well, congratulations. You have just heard the longest gospel in the history of the world, and you made it through. So I have a joke for you, but you have to really pay attention. This is a real cerebral joke. You got to pay attention. No reading your bulletin yet. Just give me a chance. Okay. So what did the Zen master say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything. Get it? Make me one with everything. Oh, God, I love that joke. So, not only do I love that joke, I think it's perfect for the gospel. I do. I really do, because what's at the center of the gospel for me is what's going to bring these people together, what's going to help them connect, and specifically, what's going to help the younger brother and the older brother connect to one another and to their father. You know, because the younger brother and the older brother are two people who are going about life, it seems, in a very, very different way. Very different way to function, very different way to be in the world, and it has separated them from everything. So what's going to bring them together? And for me, it's got to be the father, right? He's the character in the story that can bring them together, at least give them the shot. It's the father's compassion. It's the father's forgiveness. It's the father's openness. It's the father's understanding that gives these two very different people a chance to come together rather than just fight and see each other as separate. Right? And as I was thinking about this story, it got more and more personal because I've lived both of the brothers in my life. Right? I've lived my life like the younger brother, filled with immaturity and compulsion, and then the destruction that comes with living a life like that. And I've lived the life of the older brother, the kind of self-righteous know-it-all, who thinks it's his job to sit back and judge everybody else because he just knows, right? So I've lived both of those lives, and both of those lives are dead ends. They're dead. So for me, it's not that one brother was dead and has a chance to come alive. It's that both brothers are dead and need that chance to come alive. And so it goes back to the father. The father's the one that can bridge them and hopefully bring them together. And so for me, since I've lived the other two, I've been trying to live like the father, more compassionate, more understanding, less judgmental, right? Because it can't just be this ethereal Bible thing for me, this story. It has to apply to my life. And so I've been trying to live more like the father. And I do pretty good until I get in the car. And then I'm driving, and all of a sudden, nobody else knows how to drive but me. I'm the best one there is. Right? And so then I have to remember the father. And so I've been looking, and I've been searching, and I've been reading stories to try to find who lives like this in the world. Who lives like this father? And as synchronicity would have it, I got a call from a friend who reminded me of a story that somebody who used to come to church here told. You guys remember Martin Hunt? Some of you remember Martin Hunt? Yeah. So he would tell lots of stories, but he told this one, and it came from one of the things that Martin liked to do was just travel the world, and he traveled all over the place. And on one of his travels, he went to Sri Lanka. And it was like right at the end of the 50s, so they hadn't been an independent country for very long. broken away from British colonialism. And so the government was flimsy, and there was a lot of unrest. And as he was going around the place where he was staying, he kept hearing about this lawyer, this famous lawyer, who was just so well known throughout the country. And for whatever reason, he just kept hearing story after story about this guy. Well, one day, his guide took him into the city to find another guide that would take him on a hike, a kind of a long hike, up a mountain, up to a place where an abandoned British golf course was. And so the hike was beautiful, and they'd be able to get up there and then have lunch and be able to see forever. So they did that. And the guide, Martin's guide, chose from these group of people who were in the city square the skinniest guy there, scrawniest, skinniest guy there. And he did because it was the best price. So all these other guys might have been better, but he took him. So they made their way all the way up. They set the skinny guy, set up a nice lunch for him with a blanket on the ground and all these different foods that he had carried up. And Martin was the kind of guy he was. He invited the guy to come and sit and eat with them. And after they haggled about the appropriateness of that, the guy finally did. He came and sat down. And Martin brought up the lawyer. And he said, I just keep hearing about this lawyer. I keep hearing about this guy. And he said some of the other things. And then he said to the young guy, do you know him? And he says, yes, I do know him. He's my father. And he said, your father? Well, what in the world are you doing working here? And he said, well, my father's gotten in trouble with the government because he spoke out against them. And they've arrested him. And he's in jail. And every day, my mother, who's a nurse, she and I go and visit him. And in jail, we see that he's being beaten. And all that my mother can do is care for his wounds. And Martin gets upset and he goes, well, what in the world? Don't you just hate these people? They're beating your father. And the young man says, well, beating is horrible. It's a horrible thing. Nobody should have to tolerate being beaten. Nobody should be in a place where they're being abused. Anybody who's being abused should be able to get out of it, but we can't get him out. We don't have the power. So all we can do is go each day and take care of his wounds. And then the young man said, and not only that, they've taken all my father's money and the houses that we've had, and that's why I'm working here. And Martin just screamed, that is so unfair. That is just the most unfair thing I've ever heard. You have to hate those people. Do you hate those people? You have to hate those people. And the young man said, I don't hate them. And Martin said, how on earth can you not hate them for what they've done to you, for what they've done to your family? How can you not hate them? And the young man said, I don't hate them because they're my brothers and they're my sisters. He said, you see, I'm a citizen of the world, so I can't hate. You see, I want to be like him. What about you? Amen.